It didn't begin with a headline, not with a scandal, not with another bombshell interview or a Netflix camera crew. No, this one started with a letter. A quiet, respectful message from Prince Harry to his father, King Charles III, a formal request to attend the King's Foundation event. On the surface, it seemed simple, harmless, even hopeful, but beneath that request was a deeper, desperate undertone. Harry wasn't just asking for an invitation, he was asking for a way back in. This wasn't some charity tea party or seasonal royal appearance. The King's Foundation event is a marquee moment, a who's who of power, prestige, and public image. World leaders, philanthropists, senior royals. A night where the monarchy flexes its influence and frames its future. For Harry, attending would have meant more than just a seat at the table. It would have symbolized relevance, redemption, belonging, but instead of an acceptance letter, came silence, then rejection, cold, final, unapologetic, not even a token Zoom call. No pre-recorded message, not even a back row courtesy seat, just nothing. And that silence? That was the message. If you're just tuning in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because what happens behind palace doors rarely stays hidden. And we're uncovering every twist in this royal reckoning. Because this wasn't a scheduling conflict. This was strategy. According to multiple royal insiders, the denial wasn't a maybe, it was swift. It was deliberate, and it was deeply personal behind the palace walls. The whispers turned into a resounding truth. The monarchy isn't just moving forward, it's moving on. Without Harry, the guest list was a spectacle. Prince William, Princess Anne, Queen Camilla, even non-working royals like Zara Tindall made the cut. David Beckham was there, Kate Winslet too, every seat filled. Every name accounted for, except one. The one that wasn't there said more than all the ones that were. And here's where it cuts deeper, behind the marble walls and royal protocols. One aide reportedly summed it up with brutal clarity: the king sees no reason to reward betrayal with visibility. Let that sink in. Not misunderstanding, not miscommunication, but betrayal. That's the lens Harry is being viewed through, not as the wayward son or the prodigal prince, but as a man who crossed the line, not once, not twice, but repeatedly. And for many inside the monarchy, this latest attempt at reconnection wasn't seen as genuine. It was seen as a PR move, a soft rebrand, a last-minute attempt to rewrite a narrative that's already set in stone. But the palace isn't buying it, and here's where things get even messier. Because while Harry was reaching out, Meghan was silent, entirely, according to close sources. She didn't back the request, didn't co-sign, didn't even comment. Her focus? Allegedly locked on her own ventures in California, from brand building to business deals. And in royal circles, that kind of silence speaks volumes. Her disengagement wasn't just noted. It was interpreted strategically, purposefully, and for those watching closely, it looked like Meghan had already moved several steps ahead, separating herself from a battle she believes is already lost. But that wasn't the only storm brewing. Asterisk, what once felt like a family feud now resembles something much more final, a full-blown exile. And not the kind that gets walked back with a few carefully worded statements. No, this feels permanent, quiet, strategic, locked in behind polished palace doors. Harry tried to turn the page. The palace, they're closing the book, insiders say. The reaction inside Buckingham Palace to the rejection was precisely what King Charles hoped for: calm satisfaction. No pushback, no behind-the-scenes tension. In fact, aides reportedly welcomed the move. For years, they'd been navigating the uncomfortable space between loyalty to the crown and sympathy for the king's youngest son. But this time, there was no hesitation. The message was simple: you can't represent duty and honor while simultaneously monetizing family dysfunction. Loyalty has limits, and Harry, it seems, had crossed his final one. Even some of his longtime defenders, both in the press and within royal circles, are starting to shift. The same commentators who once applauded him for speaking his truth are now highlighting a different pattern: the constant public commentary, the book, the interviews, the endless grievances aired for the world to see. And there's a growing sense that the world is tired of listening. After the King's Foundation event guest list went public, the reaction was swift. Hashtags like #NoMoreHarry and #RoyalReckoning began trending on social media. Some tweets were harsh, others expressed disappointment, but most echoed one clear theme: he made his choice. Now he's living with it. One viral post captured the mood perfectly: you can't write a tell-all trashing your family and then act shocked when you don't get a dinner invite. That hit home. Because sympathy, the kind Harry once commanded so easily, is wearing thin. And the royal family isn't the only group turning cold. Remember that security conversation? It didn't go well either. Part of Harry's request to attend the foundation event included a discussion around safety. protection for him and possibly even Meghan and their children, should they accompany him, but that request was denied before it could even be properly considered. Why? Because in the eyes of palace officials, Harry no longer holds any active royal duties. And with no duties comes no entitlement to royal security. For Harry, this was personal. He's mentioned it before in interviews, in court filings, in speeches. How losing his protection made him feel vulnerable, exposed, even abandoned. To him, it's not just about bodyguards, it's about legitimacy, but to the crown, it's just protocol. No title in use, no work on behalf of the monarchy, no royal coverage. That's the rule. And the rule isn't changing for him, and it's not just security being stripped away behind the scenes. Sources close to the palace say there's growing momentum around revisiting Harry's remaining titles. Nothing confirmed yet, but discussions are happening, whispers of a more formal, legal separation from the monarchy, one that would go beyond emotion and become constitutional. In other words, the exile might soon become official. But what makes this exile feel different from past royal scandals is how quiet it all is. There's no dramatic statement, no fiery public confrontation. The palace isn't fighting back with press conferences, it's making moves through exclusion. Through silence, through guest lists. That's where the true power lies, the foundation. Event was more than just a gala, it was a symbolic gesture, a curated stage of who matters and who doesn't. The names invited weren't just celebrities and royals. They were signals of what King Charles wants the monarchy to represent: unity, loyalty, discretion. David Beckham, Kate Winslet, respected figures, carefully chosen. Their presence wasn't about glitz, it was about values. In Harry's absence, that was the loudest message of the night. He wasn't just left off the seating chart. He was left out of the story. No digital appearance, no message on screen, not even a line in the official program, just nothing for a man born into royalty, someone who once walked those very halls as a future leader. That kind of erasure is brutal. It's not just rejection, it's redirection. The monarchy is rewriting its narrative and Harry is no longer a main character. Meanwhile, across the ocean, Meghan's silence continues and the speculation only grows. Is she distancing herself out of strategy, or has she simply accepted what Harry refuses to? That the chapter is closed, that the monarchy has moved on, that the door Harry keeps trying to open is already locked. Some insiders believe Meghan is pivoting entirely, that she's focused on solo ventures, California deals, and personal branding, that she's stepping back not because she's afraid, but because she's done. And that's something Harry hasn't seemed ready to admit. But even outside the royal bubble, the consequences are growing. The Hollywood safety net they once relied on, it's fraying fast. Spotify pulled the plug, Netflix is quietly stepping back. Insiders say executives aren't publicly criticizing the Sussexes, but behind closed doors, it's a different story. Harry's brand, once built on the allure of royal rebellion, is now viewed as risky, controversial, fatiguing. One entertainment PR strategist reportedly said off record he came in as royalty. He's becoming tabloid. That shift is devastating. Because without the crown, what does Harry really have left? No palace access, no title recognition, no royal events. That mystique, the aura of royalty, is fading, and without it, the public's interest begins to shift. The headlines still come, but they're not driven by admiration. They're driven by drama, and that kind of attention is short-lived. The risk? It's not just that Harry becomes irrelevant. It's that he becomes a cautionary tale. Back in the UK, the tone is also changing subtly but unmistakably. Royal commentators, once hesitant to criticize too harshly, are now using words like irreversible, erased, and precedent-setting. There's talk of legacy, now of permanent distance. Some are even drawing parallels to royal outcasts from decades past. Those who stepped too far out of line and were quietly removed from public life, never to return. The difference this time, it's all happening in real time, under the harsh, global spotlight of a digital age. Every move, every statement, every absence, it's all being analyzed. And through it all, King Charles remains unmoved. No apologies, no softening, no olive branches. If anything, the rejection of Harry is strengthening his grip. Sources say Charles believes the monarchy must be rooted in discipline, not emotion. That preserving the institution means protecting its image at any cost. Even if that cost is his own son. The clearest proof, that very guest list. It wasn't just a list of attendees, it was a declaration, a strategic framing of the monarchy's present and future. The people chosen weren't there by accident. They were selected for what they represent: grace, loyalty, cultural alignment. In including them and excluding Harry, the king sent a message to the world. This is the image of the monarchy we choose to project, and Harry, he wasn't just absent, he was forgotten. For him, that's the deepest cut. He wasn't censored. He wasn't publicly condemned, he was ignored. Because sometimes silence speaks louder than any public rebuke, and Meghan, her silence may be strategic. Or it may be something else entirely. In an ecosystem where every glance, every word, every absence becomes its own headline, Meghan's disengagement is being interpreted as resignation. Some palace insiders see it as confirmation that she's moved on, emotionally and professionally. That she's no longer interested in battling for a space that doesn't exist anymore. And the question everyone's now asking is this: does Harry even realize? Because what he may still be fighting to reclaim might no longer be his to win. The monarchy has drawn a line, and Hollywood, it seems, is redrawing theirs too. Let's not forget, the deals that once defined the Sussexes' post-royal glow are fading. Spotify publicly ended their partnership. Netflix is reportedly reviewing upcoming projects. The appeal, the novelty of the Sussex brand is no longer the hot commodity it once was. What's left now is uncertainty. In the entertainment world, reputation is currency, public favor is everything. And when the narrative shifts from admiration to fatigue, from royal to reality show, the offers dry up fast. Media outlets may still publish headlines, but brands are thinking twice. Producers are getting cautious. Big money deals are harder to justify when the public is tuning out. And Harry? He's stuck in the middle, because here's the brutal truth. Harry's entire public identity, everything that once gave him leverage, influence, and access, was built around his royal bloodline. Even when he stepped back, even when he criticized the institution, he still benefited from the connection, the name, the titles, the mystique. But now, piece by piece, that connection is being severed. The palace isn't making a scene, they're just making decisions, quietly, strategically, and every time they shut a door, every time they remove Harry from an event or ignore a request, it chips away at what he represents. Sure, he can still write books, he can still sit for interviews, but without the royal validation, without the proximity to the throne, the impact isn't the same. The mystique fades, the audience grows smaller, the relevance begins to wane. That's the real risk here. It's not about being disliked. It's about becoming forgettable, and in an age where attention is everything, irrelevance is the final exile. Even in the UK, where sympathy for Harry once ran deep, the mood has changed. There's less talk of reconciliation and more discussion of legacy. Some commentators are even proposing that this moment, the king's rejection, the absence from the guest list, could become a defining precedent for future royal controversies. Because, make no mistake, this wasn't just about family politics. It was about institutional stability, about sending a message to the world and to future generations that the monarchy has boundaries, that betrayal, however personal, has consequences, and that no one, not even a prince, is above that line. And while Harry still seems to believe he can find a way back, others aren't so sure. In fact, more and more observers are asking if he's even meant to come back. If this exile isn't just temporary, but a permanent rewriting of his ROLEA, quiet removal from royal history. Because while the King's Foundation event was a single night, its implications could last for decades. And that's the painful irony. Harry stepped away hoping for freedom, and in many ways, he got it. But what he didn't expect was that freedom might come with a price. The loss of everything that once made him matter in the public eye. Meanwhile, back in California, Meghan's solo pivot is starting to make sense. If the royal door is closed, then she's betting on a new brand, one not tethered to the palace or to Harry's royal past. That's not betrayal, that's survival. And while Harry continues to knock on closed doors, she's already walking through new ones. But what happens if those doors don't open for Harry? What happens if both institutions, the monarchy and Hollywood, decide they're done? That's the crossroads Harry finds himself at now. The monarchy has made its stance clear. He is no longer part of the future they're building. The institutions that once gave him prestige are rewriting their stories without him. And even the media, once eager to hang on his every word, is growing weary of the endless cycle. Interview, grievance, fallout, repeat. There was a time when Harry's voice was revolutionary, a royal breaking protocol to speak his truth. But now, that narrative is wearing thin. Even those who once admired his courage are questioning the motives. What's new here? What's left to say? What's the next evolution? Because right now, the story feels stuck, and that's where the danger truly lies. Because if Harry doesn't evolve, if he can't reinvent himself beyond the royal drama, he risks becoming a caricature of himself, the exiled prince, the outsider, the man who once had it all but couldn't let go of the past. And that's a story the public grows tired of fast. But here's the thing, Harry isn't without options. He may have lost the backing of the monarchy and the Hollywood glow, may be fading, but he still has something powerful, the ability to reshape his narrative. If he chooses, he could step away from the spotlight, build something entirely new, champion causes that aren't tied to his lineage, forge an identity that stands on merit, not memory. It won't be easy. And it certainly won't be fast, but it's the only path left that leads to true legacy. Because trying to re-enter the royal stage through closed doors won't work. The monarchy's message is deafening in its silence. This chapter is over. And in California, even as new opportunities arise, they come with strings, expectations, timelines, risks. To succeed, Harry must shift from chasing relevance to creating it. He needs to stop reacting to the palace and start building something independent of it. It's the only way to escape the shadow of what he once was, because right now, the headlines are all starting to blur. Another snub, another request denied, another reminder that the monarchy doesn't need him anymore. But what if the next headline wasn't about what Harry lost, but what he built? What if, instead of trying to reclaim the throne's attention, he earned the world's respect on his own terms? It's not too late, but time is running out. Because here's the truth, the royal family is moving on. The palace isn't waiting for apologies. It's not holding its breath for reconciliation. It's making choices, quiet, firm, and irreversible. Every exclusion, every silent rejection, is another brick in a wall that's being built between Harry and the institution he was born into. And for the first time, it's clear that the monarchy isn't afraid of the headlines anymore. It's not afraid of the backlash. It has outlasted centuries of controversy, and it's signaling that it intends to outlast this one. Harry may have thought the door was still cracked open, but the King's Foundation guest list didn't just say otherwise, it slammed that door shut. Now, Meghan's strategic silence only adds to the weight. To some, it signals distance, to others, it's clarity. A recognition that the royal chapter is closed, and the sooner it's accepted, the better. Hollywood, too, is a fickle kingdom. The same industry that once welcomed the Sussexes with fanfare is now growing quiet. Executives who once rushed to ink deals are hesitating. The buzz has faded. And the future? It's uncertain at best, but Harry still has a choice. He can either remain locked in a cycle of rejection, hoping for a call that may never come, or he can rewrite the story himself. Because legacy doesn't come from titles, it comes from actions, from impact, from courage. And if Harry truly wants to honor the ideals he once claimed, service, compassion, mental health awareness, then he'll have to walk a new path. One built on authenticity, not inheritance. This moment may feel like an ending, but it doesn't have to be. It could be the beginning of something far more powerful if he's willing to let go of the throne that turned its back and stand on his own. The world is watching. The palace has spoken. Meghan's already moved on. Now, all eyes are on Harry. What happens next is up to him. And if you want to stay updated as this story continues to unfold, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because we're just getting started. More royal twists, behind-the-scenes revelations, and bold truths are coming. And trust us, you won't want to miss what's next.